Welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Jungle with your two favorite Bengals fans. I am Kyron, also known as Rich. Not by myself, of course. I'm joined with the good brother Phil. How you doing, family? How you feeling today?
And we still here, man. We hanging in there.
Yeah, you can probably hear it in my voice. It's a little bit somber. Not sure how long this episode is going to be. Uh, just some thoughts that we want to clear out and kind of get out of our conscience before we move on to Carolina. Um, but before we get into any of that, obviously, thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for checking us out as always. Phil, I did want to highlight something that you've been sharing with me, which is all the great feedback that we've been getting from a lot of people.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
You
Yes. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's I personally I'm sure you have as well. We talked been getting a lot of positive feedback. So, as you just stated there, I just wanna, at the top of the podcast, take a moment to just thank everyone that has reached out, that's provided feedback, that's taken time out of your day to listen. We really appreciate it. This is a passion project of ours, but we know how passionate others are about the Bengals, and we're just really glad that now, soon to be 3 episodes in, that you all like the content that we're bringing to you, and we hope to continue to do that and to continue to improve each and every week, and hopefully the Bengals follow suit as well.
Hopefully, to echo Phil's sentiments, we definitely appreciate that. As someone who is a part of 5, maybe 6 podcasts, I'm not even sure at this point
Right.
how many that I'm a part of, but I will say it never gets old when you get feedback from real people who enjoy the content that you're discussing. What you're putting out. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and just giving us a shot. Giving us a shot as lifelong Bengals fans, diehard Bengals fans. That's why episodes this are a little bit tough. But please continue to comment, leave your reviews, leave your Instagram posts, DMs, the whole nine. Join in on the conversation because we definitely want to include you in there. We'll read your comments and everything else. Maybe not this week. This is feeling myself when we started this podcast. It's funny. This is the only, I mentioned I have 5 or 6. This is the only podcast that is family friendly. No explicit content. We just try to make this as family friendly as possible. After a night like Monday, it's hard to keep that same attitude. I'm gonna try my hardest to make sure that we don't have any slip ups and don't need the curse button. Like Martin in that episode when he had to cuss out the country dude. But just to continue on the positive news, which is everybody listening, we thank y'all for that. Ring of Honor night. Do want to kick it off with the positives, man. Ring of Honor night. We had 2 Bengals legends, Tim Krumrie and Corey Dillon, get inducted into the illustrious Ring of Honor. I say it's illustrious. I'm sure you will as well, Phil, because for the longest, we did not have anything to celebrate our legends within the organization and the franchise. It always seemed out of whack, and it feels like ever since we drafted Joe, it kind of started that new regime past the Marvin Lewis era. We decided to get up with the times and make sure that we have a place for all of our legends. And it was cool because everybody, there were a lot of people, a lot of former Bengals greats who came back to celebrate it. And it's becoming like a homecoming of sort for everybody to come back for Ring of Honor night. And obviously the honor of putting the jacket on people and continuing that tradition. And it's always fun if you don't know, season ticket holders. So myself and Phil, we get votes on who we will want to induct in the Ring of Honor. And I believe that's the only method of voting, right? They only take votes from season ticket holders. Is that correct?
Season ticket holders, the longer, the more seasons that you've been a season ticket holder, the more your votes count. So with us being year 3, our votes count as 3, and so on and so forth. So really cool. You get credit for your tenure. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Tim Krumrie obviously was a member of that Super Bowl team in 1988. First team All Pro in 1988. Pro Bowl in 1987 and 1988. Corey Dillon, Bengals all-time leading rusher. 3-time Pro Bowler while he was here in 99, 2000, 2001. Just great to see. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Corey Dillon is, I don't know if anyone else can say that, but broke a record once held by Jim Brown and also broke a record once held by Walter Payton, just to let you know what type of running back he truly was and what type of company that he should be in. And definitely one of our greats that should be in the Hall of Fame, because you can put Corey Dillon's numbers up against any running back's numbers. And,
Nah, that's
you
a
know,
fact.
so
Obviously, he ended up winning the Super Bowl with another team we will not mention on this podcast, but it's always good to see once sour relationships patched up again.
for
Corey Dillon
sure.
in that ring of honor where he deserves. He definitely more than deserving. Obviously, that was an era when people left Cincinnati and big time players left Cincinnati, it usually wasn't on pleasant terms. Phil and myself had a conversation. It's funny this past week about another Bengals person who is going to deserve to get in there, but we personally don't rock with him. We're no time, even if he did show up on the ballot, we're not going to vote for him.
Not a
We're
chance.
not going to say the name. I'm sure everybody can figure it out who this is, prominent player. Maybe one day down the line, but it's going to be a while. You can't trash the city on your way out and expect to be inducted and get all the flowers.
That's
But one
facts.
day we'll have the right conversation to, kind of applaud him for everything he did and his resurgence with the franchise. But that's about it as far as the positives. Ring of Honor night is always a fun thing, and
Yeah.
always good to be here with my brother. It was such a bad night, Phil, that you and I didn't even have the chance to get together. We didn't get any kind of photo op.
Yeah.
We just ended up leaving. We didn't even I didn't even ask if you were still at the stadium. I wasn't in the mood to take a picture or do anything or have a conversation. A disappointing loss on Monday Night Football prime time. They hyped it up as the LSU Heisman quarterback matchup between Joe Burrow and Jayden Daniels. And before we start on just the overall game itself, Phil, I do want to say this, and I've been thinking about this today. I'm not going to be surprised, as mad and upset as I am about the game. Beginning of November, Thanksgiving time, I'm not going to be surprised if we look back at this week 3 game and say that's the game Jayden Daniels arrived. Like, I don't think this is a
Yeah.
one-off. I don't think. How do I want to put this? Because we played for them, especially defensively, we played terribly. However, I did find myself tipping my hat to Jayden Daniels a lot for someone who's only starting his 3rd game. It reminded me a lot of the Houston game last year, where you just have a quarterback who, and a team that you feel you're better than, but a rookie quarterback just finds a way to make plays, and out of nowhere, and he led them and willed them to victory. Also felt a little bit. He's having. Do you remember when Cam came on the scene in 2011?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Remember those first 2 games? He played the Packers in the first game. I forget who he played second. I think it might have been the Cardinals, or Cardinals first game, Packers second game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how it went. I'm actually proud of myself. That's all off memory. But I only remember those because of the whispers about whether Cam was going to be a good quarterback or not.
Right.
And him just coming out the gate throwing for, I think, back-to-back 400 yards game. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct, but I'm pretty sure that is it. I remember Aaron Rodgers, after they played the Packers, saying, like, this kid's going to be special. Obviously, we know Cam ended up, becoming an MVP of the league, things like that. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we're in November and we're looking at this game and say, oh, this is who Jayden Daniels is. Because I didn't really believe in – I'm not going to say I didn't believe in the quarterbacks in this class, but there haven't been a lot of quarterbacks I believed in, period, recently. So it's kind of like one of those prove it things, and I think he proved it.
For sure. And if there's a team that a rookie quarterback is going to prove themselves against, it's the Bengals. The Bengals in their last 12 games against rookie quarterbacks are 3-9. We do an amazing job of making rookie quarterbacks look all pro. The 3 that we beat are Kenny Pickett, I think Anthony Thomas, who was making a start for Baltimore, I think is his name.
Who?
And
Snoop meme. Who?
Exactly. And Trevor Lawrence. Those are the only 3. Everybody else beat us. Mitch Trubisky, Baker Mayfield. I mean, any rookie that you can think over the past, I don't know, probably
Manziel?
7 seasons.
I remember Manziel beat us on a Thursday night game in Paul Brown and I'm gonna say Paul Brown because it was Paul Brown at that
Yeah.
time. But he did beat us on a Thursday night. It was cold as I don't know what. If
Yep.
anybody went to that game, was that his rookie year?
I'm not for certain. If it wasn't, it was his second year, but I think it might
One
have
of the
been his first year.
coldest games I've ever been to. But yeah, I remember that. That's an
Yeah.
interesting point. I did not know that. I did not know
Yeah.
that stat, Phil. Did
Yeah,
not know that
man.
stat. Um,
And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and another tradition that was killed was that Ring of Honor, unblemished record that we had. First Ring of Honor game that we lost. Talk about Jayden Daniels, rookie Cam coming on the scene. I think Jayden Daniels was the only person that didn't realize it was only his third start and his first prime time start, because he was definitely ready for the big stage. So.
Well, that's an MO on Jayden Daniels. If you look into him and read anything, there's another podcast that covers the Bengals, who they were discussing if there was a fire, and this was the quote: "If there was a fire in Jayden Daniels' house, he would calmly get up, like get all his valuables, and like gather everything up neatly and walk out the house because nothing rattles him, nothing panics him."
Yeah.
And he played that way. He looked that way. We didn't obviously help by making him uncomfortable,
Nope.
which is something we can talk about shortly. But I guess the one thing that it's important to mention. I know we looked at this Commanders game as I had an air of confidence, an aura of confidence, should I say? I thought this was going to be a double-digit win for us. I just thought there's no way we're going down 0-3. I didn't think we were going to lose in prime time. That look on Joe's face after the handshake with Mahomes last week just let me know I think he's ready to take the league by storm again. And obviously Joe played a great game, but I don't know, man. There's just something about the expectations that come with being a Bengals fan. And we talked about it in our first episode, Phil, about those years when you just you had Klingler and you knew you were going to be 3-13, and sure we'll get the number one pick, we'll draft Big Daddy Wilkerson. And then you have the Dalton years, the Marvin Lewis era. And I find myself these past couple of weeks missing that era. And the reason I say that, here's why I say that, right? When you're a fan of a franchise who starts getting success or having experiencing success, should I say, it's kind of hard on you as a fan because everything weighs that much more, right? Like you have so many high expectations that we don't get a chance to have off weeks. Like we have Super Bowl aspirations. The Dalton years, we knew we were good enough to be in the playoffs. And sometimes there was just that blind faith of, hey, just let us in and we'll see what happens.
Right.
Like we didn't necessarily have the talented enough rosters, I think, to win per se. Maybe a couple of those teams I think were good enough.
Yeah.
But you, at least as a fan, you didn't think like we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. But you said, hey, give us a shot. We'll sneak in there. Who knows? We'll have a run. And once you reach the Super Bowl, and we play that game against the Rams, now you're in a different tier. You have the quarterbacks, you have the weapons, and that's what we expect year in and year out. That window is always open, right? The window's always open with Joe. That's what they said. And last night was the first time I've had to consider that maybe this team just isn't good enough right now to be in that kind of Super Bowl contention. And I'm not saying talented enough. They're talented enough, but I don't think they're good enough right now to actually be Super Bowl contenders.
And I'll actually play devil's advocate on that one. And on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know if this team is talented enough. As much as I would, as much as I would love to blame Zach, or I would love to blame coaching or this, that, and the other, it's really, 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 really hard not to shift some of this blame to the front office. I mean, we knew all along, we talked about it, obviously, before the podcast started. We talked about the impact of DJ Reader. We talked about how big of a piece that was going to be. We saw how much we missed him in the back half of last year when he went out injured, and how much, our defense changed as a result of that. So, I mean, the lack of pass rush and the lack of just run stop ability. I mean, Trey Hendrickson is out there playing by itself, and we let Baltimore re-sign Yannick Ngakoue last week. Why didn't we go get him? Why are we waiting to see if Miles Murphy can be the answer when he hasn't shown us that he can be? Sam Hubbard has the lowest pass rush grade out of all defensive linemen in the entire NFL. He's washed. He's through. I mean,
you think he just ain't healthy, or he's washed, or both?
I would love to say he's not healthy, but that was the excuse we used last year. I mean, without him having some surgery or some significant injury that we don't know about, he should be healthy. So he should be healthy. Zach Carter has a 0% pass rush win rate. Zero. That means he's never won in a pass rush situation. Never. Jay Tufele has a 2.5% pass rush win rate. We just played a guy that we signed off of the street, for significant snaps, and he was probably one of the better defensive linemen that we had in the game. That's on the offense. That's on the front office. You look at what Detroit just did against the Cardinals, and I think they held them to like 2.5 yards per rush. Guess who? Guess why? DJ Reader.
Reader.
I like Sheldon Rankins a lot. I love BJ Hill, but they're both rotational players that are better against the pass than they are against the run. We have no answer. And when you don't get pushed from that D line, it hurts your linebackers, it hurts your secondary, and they're forced to make more tackles. And we've got 2 guys out of the 4 in the secondary, or 5, I guess, in the secondary. They just flat out can't tackle. Dax cannot tackle. Geno Stone cannot tackle. It's embarrassing to watch them tackle at times. Yeah, I mean, it's bad. They both can cover, but they cannot tackle, and it's really frustrating. And we knew that was going to be a problem. We knew defensive tackle was going to be a problem. We knew stopping the run was going to be a problem, and we didn't re-sign T. We didn't re-sign Chase. What did we spend money on? Why not? Why did you let DJ Reader walk? It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure, and it's like I said, if you're at that game or you're watching at home, it's very easy to see. Isn't Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson both had 9 tackles, 6 solos, 3 assists. But they've looked non-existent because Washington was getting whatever they wanted whenever they wanted. And it wasn't even really about the run game per se, but they just got all the plays they needed to when they set themselves up perfectly to be in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. I think they were 3 for 3 on 4th downs, 8 for 9, 3 for 4, excuse me. Was it 8 for 9 or 8 for 10 total if you combine 3rd and 4th downs? Obviously, I'm sure everyone's heard by now, no punts from either team.
Yeah, hasn't happened.
Turnovers from either team.
That hasn't happened since 1940. 1940. There hasn't been a game in the NFL with no turnovers and no punts. Like, that's high school stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane, and it was crazy to watch. And it's like I said, in real time, you're just sitting there thinking it's the middle of the 3rd quarter. I'm like, hold on, have they punted yet? Like, is this really happening? And you start the game off strong, how you expect them to.
Yeah.
Commanders win the toss, they defer. That's a big FU in my opinion to the talent of Joe Burrow, and he took it as such. Came down the field,
6 plays,
single high, saw it immediately, toss it up to Jamar, touchdown, gritty, the whole 9. Jamar's on the board. Feeling myself. Talked about that previously when we were just talking about, for those who were in the gambling market, just Jamar Chase touchdown was gonna happen.
For sure.
And it happened very early. And I just thought, all right, this is it. This is how the Ring of Honor nights go. Even though last year's was a 3-point game against the Rams. That's McVay coaching. No disrespect to Dan Quinn. You expect those kind of tight games, Super Bowl rematch. I get it, but it went downhill from there. It went downhill from there very quickly. And like I said, Jayden Daniels was 21 for 23, 141.7 passer rating, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. But most importantly, 2nd and 9, I'm getting the first down, or I'm putting myself in 3rd and 2. 3rd and 5, I'm finding a tight end, or I'm finding Luke McCaffrey just finding the soft spot in the zone and just sitting there. And you mentioned it earlier, Phil, the lack of pass rush is troubling. If you look at this yards per carry, I think they averaged 3.4. The Commanders did, so it was not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's just that all their plays were timely. Like everything they needed, they got. The one time we needed one stop, and this sounds crazy. One stop and you win this game.
Facts. Just
one stop.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't get it.
And because I don't even know if I could stomach talking through the entire game, but just seems like a perfect time based on what you just touched on there. The game sealing drive, that last drive for the Commanders, went 12 plays for 70 yards. They fumbled and recovered it. Big opportunity that we missed there. They took a sack. They had 2 false starts. But they also proceeded to convert a 2nd and 21, a 3rd and 13, and a 4th and 4. I just don't know if that's ever happened, like ever. Like that's insane that the defense can't just make one timely stop when you need it the most.
And that's the silver lining, Phil, honestly. I mean, there's not much to look at, but my only bright spot is maybe just maybe this Washington offense is that good, and maybe Jayden Daniels is that good, and we look back, and maybe we come out the next few weeks and say, okay, we really weren't that bad. Maybe they were that good. It still doesn't excuse how we feel. This is just literally me talking myself into convincing myself of something to feel better.
But and as much as I want to make myself feel better, I got to be real with myself. The only defense that's probably worse than ours is Washington's. So, I mean, it really came down to Washington going 3 for 3 in the red zone, scoring touchdown every trip they made to the red zone, and we went 1 for 3. We missed the field goal and we kicked the field goal. If one of those is a touchdown, just one of them, we win the game. So
you know what I was thinking, and this is gonna sound crazy, and I hope everyone out there can understand what I'm about to say, because it sounds nuts to say it, and I was thinking about it a little bit deeper, and I think I came up with some kind of conclusion or reasoning. So you can't ask really for much of a better game from our offense.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not perfect. There are things you want to switch up, but if you told me before the hand that we weren't going to punt all game and we weren't going to turn the ball over, and Joe's going to have a stat line of 29 of 38, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, only taking 2 sacks, with a passer rating of a 127.5, I'd say sign me up for that. And we're scoring 33 points. Absolutely, sign me up for that. But for some reason, I found myself throughout the game like, dang, the offense didn't do enough, which sounds crazy. And I think the reason I was digging into this, because I stopped and said, that's not fair to say. The offense played great. Offense played great. They did more than enough to win the game. And I remember the reason I feel like that is because that's the way this team has been designed. Going back to your point earlier about the front office not really putting as much into the defense as much as we have the offense. But our team is now designed to be let's score more points than you. And if you've been watching football as long as we've been watching football, that's just not how you win. You got to start in the trenches, and you build yourself around that. And we still do live in Cincinnati, or we still play in Cincinnati, should I say. I live in Cleveland now. Playing Cincinnati. So if we are going to win divisions and host playoff games, it is going to be cold in January. Like, I don't want to rely on spread offense slinging it. I want to make sure we build some kind of other identity somewhere throughout this program and this franchise, so where I feel good about our odds going into things each and every week. I know we talk about cultures. That's a big term in sports, but as much as I hate to give them credit, but man, the Steelers culture and the way they kind of build things, what kind of players you're expecting when you're on that roster. And if you don't fit that mold, you're out of here. When they talked about the Patriots way, and there's other franchises who have a certain type, you see what the Lions are doing to bring it up again, Phil. Just a certain type of attitude and a certain type of demeanor and a certain type of expectation that I think we're lacking. I think that's what we want to do. I think we want to run an offense like that. I think we want to score points, but that can't be our culture. We have to be tough-nosed, gritty, Shout out to Tim Krumrie. We need if somebody had that Tim Krumrie mentality, and I guess that's my overall issue right now, Phil. It just seems when you look at the post game pressers and you look at people talking, man, it just seems like there's no urgency. I need somebody to have that. I need somebody to have that Tim Tebow promise speech after they lost to Ole Miss. I need somebody to get up and have one of those speeches. I need if anybody's seen the movie Friday Night Lights, I need someone to have one of those deacon speeches in the locker room, just kind of out of nowhere, bro. Like, come on, bro. They bleed just like we bleed. They practice just like we practice. I know people have used the for those who don't know, the collective bargaining agreement for the NFL. Very light on practice. The rules are you only get 14 padded practices for the entire season. 11 of those practices have to be in the first 11 weeks. In the last 6 weeks of the season, you can use the other 3 practices. I say all that to say you're not getting a lot of reps as far as form tackling, live action, actually like getting some thuds in. But every team goes through that. So I don't want to hear that as far as why we're not tackling Will. There was it might have been the 2nd and 21 play at the end of the game, Phil, when we were still searching for that spot. And you talk about that screen, and I believe that was Dax Hill over there, and I forget who caught the pass, but missed tackle. Now 2nd and 21 turns to 39. We cannot have that. 2nd and 21, that's all we've been looking for. We've been looking to put them back. Let's get them into a 3rd and 17 and see what we can do if we get Joe the ball back. Because when Joe had it and we're running up-tempo, 2-minute warning type of offense, there was nothing they could do. We all knew their secondary was awful. But we have to get better at the simple, basic things. And I think that's what upset me the most is that, and we talked about this on week 1 when we talked about the Patriots, right? You and I are just fans of the game, right? We've never coached in the NFL. We've never had any kind of experience playing past high school, anything like that, right?
right.
So I'm not even saying this like we're gurus, but if we know what the Patriots' game plan is going to be as far as what you need to do to win, that means the Bengals should as well. You should 100%. Know as a team that you saw, even though they only kicked field goals against the Giants 2 weeks in a row now, including our game, they've scored on every single possession they've had. You should know what this young quarterback wants to do and what they want to do, and you should scheme everything around that to make them uncomfortable. We know we don't have a pass rush. Let's get a little bit more clever with our blitzing. Let's get a little bit more clever with our looks because he literally was out there playing 7-on-7, and he had no worry, no issue, no rushes. Honestly, and Trey, you see the difference when Trey's not being Superman like he was in KC. Our defense looks very vanilla, and it's sad, and it's very worrisome because this is not a defense that's going to win you a championship. I don't care how many points you put up. We saw what happened. If you can score 33 points in the NFL and still lose by 5, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And I mean, I talked about it. I don't know if I talked about it on the pod, but conversation we had out. I said this would be the game that we finally broke that 30, that we finally, scored a 30 piece. I just didn't think it would be a game that we would be historically bad on defense again, like you referred to in that New England game. So it's
the only positive is that I took the over, but that's just a wash to my Bengals -7. I even bought the half point for the Bengals -7. Thinking about a push, I thought we were going to win by 10. But thinking about the push, worst case scenario, and whatever. But what were you about to say, Phil?
I don't know. They just have to do something. They I don't know if trying to call a guy like Fletcher Cox is even worth it, or trying to see what it'll take to get Aaron Donald off the couch. I don't know, but they got to do something to address this defensive line because I mean, the goal doesn't change. We're still going for it all this year. This is our last year with T. I mean, the plan hasn't changed. Like, we still got to go for it. So if we're gonna go for it, we got to do something. So I hope they do something because I just don't know if there's enough talent on that defensive line for us to even compete in the division. We haven't had a divisional game yet. We haven't played the Ravens with Derrick Henry. We haven't played Pittsburgh and that 3-headed running attack they have with Fields and Warren and Najee. We haven't played against Cleveland, even though they're Cleveland. But
listen, hats off to Cleveland because in the Burrow era, they've owned us. They've had the one up on us, even though we've got 2 division championships. and they still owned us as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'll say about that. Forget the defensive line and if that not being fixed. As a whole, right now, we're not winning any division games because those Steelers games, those Ravens games, those Browns games, you have to go out there and earn those.
Mm-hmm.
Like those aren't show up games. Those are some you just have to go out. That's a heart game. That's a who wants it more game. Those are who wants it more games.
Yeah.
And right now, I just feel like I said, this team just doesn't feel like they have any urgency. It almost feels like, once again, going back to that culture, we're so used to these slow starts that it's like, all right, we're gonna pick it up at some point. We're gonna pick it up at some point. Like, nah, bro. Like this is not how you want to come out looking. You want to show the rest of the league that you are legit and you are a team that should be feared. And I just don't, like you said, the defensive line is our biggest issue. I don't know who we think we are with all the chitter chatter and all the talking and everything else. Like, ain't no time for any of that. We 0-3. We're one of the worst teams in the league right now. Yep. And that's just what it comes down to. And people are still giving us the benefit of the doubt. And I'm still hopeful because, like you said, Phil, we are 0-3, and it's not like we're 1-7. Right. There is time. We could easily be having this conversation, and we'll be looking at us being 9-5.
Yeah, right? And our schedule isn't intimidating, you know what I mean? But they have to wake up. They have to snap out of it, and they have to, offense and defense have to play a game where they, actually complement one another and not just one side of the ball showing up.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what's going on. They do not. It's almost like they're two different game plans. Like the defense has their own game plan. I mean, I know that's how it works, but what I mean is, it's almost like they're skipping the entire team meeting and nobody's on the same page about here's how we're going to win this game this week. Right. Every great team has that. Here's how we're going to win. Mm-hmm. This is the game plan. This is how we beat this team. Mm-hmm. Whether it's running the ball, controlling the tempo, I understand they wanted to get that passing game going. They want to get Chase going, especially with that secondary. I don't blame them 1 second. I think that was the right call. But, man, at least in halftime, you got to go in that locker room and make some of these adjustments. Everybody in the stands knew that Daniels was attacking. He was trying to get out of the pocket, and he was attacking the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. And if he took a shot, he saw it. If he saw a shot, he took it.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, offensively, I mean, we did what I expected us to do, with knowing that T was coming back, as I've continuously said. T is the catalyst. You can't spell Cincinnati without T. T comes back, what happens? We rush for over 6 yards a carry. Joe to Jamar is back and alive, better than ever. They had the 2 long 30+ yard touchdowns. Still, 7 targets is not enough. Jamar should never be tied with Yoshi in targets. I know I love Yoshi, but no, that shouldn't happen. But yeah, hats off again, like I said, to the run game. I really like when they run these gap schemes versus the zone schemes, which they had a pretty good split. But Chase Brown 7 for 62, Moss 12 for 58 and a touchdown. And that actually leaning more in the run game, as I've been asking for, 19 carries between those two. You see what it did for the passing game. It opened up everything, so I would still love to see him take more shots. I mean, I don't think anybody outside of Commander fans could name the corners that were out here. Mike Sandstrill, the rookie from Michigan, like him a lot. He had no business being outside guarding Jamar one-on-one. They should have took more advantage of that. Had a missed opportunity for probably a 40-yard touchdown to Burton. I just want to see us take more shots, force them to defend us. That's what we have these guys out there for. We don't the dinking and dunking. I mean, take it if that's what they're giving it to you, but we were getting opportunities, and really, it's like you said earlier, it's hard to complain about the offense when you put up 33 points, but there were some points definitely left out there. So
yeah, and it's not on them. It's just I said it last week. I do enjoy the formations. I like how we're moving Jamar around. I like our use of motion. I like Eric All, and if we need to go heavy in the backfield and him being that lead block, that fullbacker. I like Eric All. I could have stopped the sentence that I like Eric All
for sure.
I'm holding out and I'll ask you this as I answer it. What what's keeping us in this right now? What's keeping us sane as we look at the next stretch? As we go to Carolina,
Yeah.
then we host Baltimore, and then we go on the road for another primetime game, Sunday night football.
Hmm.
Feeling myself will be in the building. Shout out to our
Hmm.
brother Corey
Hmm.
against the Giants. That next 3 game stretch,
Yeah.
what do you look at that's going to keep us sane, and what is the optimism come?
I think what you exactly what you just said. The opponents. We go to Carolina. Yes, I know it's got the makings for another Murphy's Law game. It's got the makings for another terrible game.
Andy Dalton revenge game.
Exactly. It's got all the makings for us to have another letdown. But I'm confident that we will show up and that we will show out. Baltimore, we always play them tough. We've had their number as of late, with or without Lamar. And they haven't looked the best. They're still figuring some things out. So I think it'll be a good test for us, given the assumption that we rebound against Carolina. That'll be an opportunity for us to put 2 good games in a row. And then, I don't want to take anybody lightly after taking losses to New England and to Washington, but if there's any team that you want to see after having a rough start, I think the Giants would be on that short list. So um, should be a good opportunity for us to be able to right the ship. And I would really, 3 weeks from now, we could very well be having a conversation at 3-3. I wouldn't be surprised, but definitely have to get 2 of the next 3, without a doubt. So that I
Yeah,
would I would say that's what gives me confidence. It's just really the opponents that we're facing. Um,
yeah.
so I would
What
love
gives
to
me
I would love to say something about us that gives me that hope, but I think it's more so about the teams that we're playing, and hopefully we can get on track.
I'm a tad bit more. I'll give us a tad bit more credit. Our offense does give me some optimism. If we can go out and execute, I don't even have the energy to talk about coaching and adjustments. That's worrisome for me. But if our offense goes out and executes, I think we get 2 of these next 3. I think we just need to see that first win, and I don't even want to downplay Carolina because all week I just said this is the week we get our first win. When we talking about this Commanders game, I just thought I locked it in. Like there was nothing you could tell me that made me believe that there was any way Washington was going to win that game, even if it wasn't a 7-point, 10-point win. There's just no way I thought we were going to leave that game without a win. So having felt that way, it makes me look at Carolina a little bit differently, especially with them coming off a win, especially
Yeah,
when you have Andy Dalton, who is playing against his former head coach. I know Marvin's not the head coach of the Raiders, but he is on the staff. And you would think that if anybody knew how to beat Andy Dalton, it would be Marvin Lewis.
yeah.
And he still came out and balled. Oh, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns.
The
So I don't want
first
to
300-yard, 3 touchdown performance of the season,
of the
which is
season, man.
crazy.
So
So,
it's insane. So I don't want to sit here and downplay the Panthers. It's not the same Panthers team as Bryce Young. If Bryce Young was in the game, I definitely feel a lot more confident.
hmm.
But if you give anybody, if you give you and me enough time to throw and really go out there and make sound decisions, it's going to be a long game. I think we should beat them, and if we don't, like I said, maybe it's just time to really come to the realization that we might not be who we say we are right now. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a gut punch and you need to look at the drawing board and you need to really figure out quickly what it is that you need to do to get back into contention because these windows are not long. They have a short shelf life. We just think about the joy we had with that Super Bowl team, and
Absolutely.
a lot of that team is just gone. They're not. It's not the same team. A lot of
Hmm.
key players, a lot of captains, just a lot is missing from that team, and it's hard to get that back. And it's only going to look more and more different each and every year. So hopefully the offense can keep us afloat while we figure out this defensive line issue, while we figure out this pass rush, while we learn to keep our mouth shut and not give anybody any kind of clickbait or any kind of bulletin board material. And we
Hmm.
just get in the lab. I don't want to see any Bengals posts with people smiling at practice. I don't want to see none of that this week.
No.
Like this is what it is. Like I want to see
Yeah.
that urgency. I want to see someone have some fire to them, some life. The other thing that I say what keeps me optimistic. I think we said this in the Chiefs game. No, our defense is not the best, but if you stick to these few things, red zone defense, turnovers, we have a chance. Hopefully, we don't go too many more games without turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
If we get one or two, I think that's enough for our offense to go ahead and make things right.
Yeah.
So, that's really all I have to say this episode, Phil. I mean, it's not really too many stats or X's and O's I want to get to. This is all about heart. And if you
Yep.
really want to, are you who you say you are?
Yep.
You know what I mean? We've been telling people we're the team to beat. Are we? And I don't think anybody fears us right now. And if I was a head coach and I had Cincinnati on the schedule, I know exactly what the game plan is going to be. I know exactly how we're going to beat them. And we got to prove other teams not, because they're going to expose us. They're going to expose us. Like Baltimore, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore is going to attempt. I guarantee you, their goal is going to be to average 7.5 per carry.
Yeah,
Like they're going to try to take advantage of it.
They might run it 35 times, 40 times.
No problem. And they don't care, because that's what they need. They know how to game plan, and that's what they need to do to win that week. Like I said, Baltimore hasn't looked the best this year, but I have more faith in their coaching staff than I do ours. And that's just the reality of the situation. Can things turn around? Absolutely. Can I eat crow? Absolutely. Like I said, if there's in the next what are we? We're 0-3. So in the next 11 weeks, if we're looking here, if we're sitting here, we're 9-5. Cool. Could that happen? Absolutely. If any
100%.
team could do it, I say it's this team. Jekyll and Hyde. You never know when they're going to show up. But as of right now, just the product. Even when we got off to the 0-2 starts the last couple of years, it didn't look this bad. The product wasn't this bad.
Yeah.
Especially defensively. So we got to turn things around. But obviously, we're not the type of fans to jump ship. Obviously, we've been in the era of free tickets to the Bengals games. Anybody, if you want them, please take them. We've been in that era, so we know what it's like not to have good teams. But it is frustrating to have a team that's talented not reach their potential. So hopefully next week. And shout out to Tay. I didn't tell you this, Phil. Shout out to Tay, man. Tay reached out to me. I don't even know if you remember Tay.
I remember Tay.
Yeah, man. So Phil and myself and a couple of the crew, we started a tradition where we go to the NFL draft. This is our first year. We went to Detroit, met some cool people. We actually met some Commanders fans. One of them in particular, he lives in Charlotte, but his name is Tay. I'm gonna have to send him this episode because he definitely texted me while I was still in the stadium on Monday night and said 0-3. Damn, I wish I was in Ohio right now. And I couldn't do it but laugh because whatever. He was like, man, y'all.
Right.
I called some bums. He said, y'all the bums starting 0-3. Who y'all play next week? Say Carolina. He said, y'all might get a win. So they having fun with it. I can't even say nothing. I just never expected. We were talking big cash to him at the draft. Like there was no way, even back then. There's no way we losing to Washington.
Oh yeah, and I get greasy.
Yeah, man. But here we are. We 0-3, but things can turn around. We just got to get that first one. So next week, hopefully, we're having a conversation where we're 1-3. We got to get past the fact that it's not where we want to be. We know that. We're all aware we didn't plan on being 0-3. Cool. Let's get to 1-3. Then let's get to 2-3. Then let's get to 3-3. As they say, let's try to be 1-0 this week and just take it from there. So, you got any other thoughts or anything else to say during this somber, sad recap of week 3?
We might as well just sat it all the way out and let the people know the uphill battle that we got. Only one of 120 teams to start 0-3 have made the playoffs in the past 25 seasons. That was the 2018 Deshaun Watson-led Houston Texans. So if you believe in Joe Shiesty and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the rest of this offense like I do, and if you look at the schedule, I don't think we're out of it. It's going to take a lot of improvements. It's going to take a concerted, focused, aligned effort. But, I think we got the makings to be able to do it. We got to get back healthy. We got to figure this defensive line out. But, if there's anybody who can do it, I'm rolling with the guys.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the home team. That 2018 Deshaun Watson Texans, is that this? Did they come here on primetime that year? We played them. We played them in Cincinnati during prime time. I can't remember what year. It was a year. Actually, what did they used to call those uniforms? A color rush.
Yeah.
So the white jersey. We still had the orange helmets, but we had those white color rush jerseys. I remember there was a play where Geno Atkins had a big hit on Deshaun Watson, like near midfield. I can't remember what year that was, but I remember. I say all that to say that was another quarterback where those mobile QBs just kind of gave us fits. I think we won that game, but I just remember it being closer than I wanted it to be.
That was December 27th, 2020. We won 37-31.
Okay, then got you. Okay. I knew it was pre-Zach Taylor, or maybe was that Zach's first year?
20. Oh yeah, that yeah, because I think Brandon Allen started that game.
And it was a primetime game, right?
I want to say yes. Yeah, I want to say yes, but I don't know for sure. What I see right here doesn't show me.
Either way, anybody out there, if y'all might remember that game, or you can go to YouTube and Geno Atkins, Deshaun, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is all off memory too, like earlier. This is all just the fandom of the game. I remember these games because I watch every single game, which means, just goes to show. I'm sure you're all like us, and we're just patiently waiting. We're patiently waiting for them to get it together. Either way, whether they do or they don't, we will be here every week with the commentary to discuss it more. Please do not hesitate to send in your thoughts, whether it be email, whether it be a DM, whether it's a text message. Our information will be in the episode description. I do want to let everyone know the YouTube page will be up this week. We will go ahead and upload the previous episodes. So you might be listening to this on audio. By the end of the week, the YouTube page will be up. So if you are a YouTube viewer, you can consistently watch us on this page. Other than that, Phil, that's about it, man. Want to know this week.
Yes,
that's
sir.
That's the goal.
That's it. And I know Rich said he'll put it in the description, but you can email us now, gridironjungle@gmail.com. So for those people that do want to reach out to us that maybe don't have the direct connection or the personal connection, feel free to shoot us an email there at gridironjungle@gmail.com. Any feedback that you want to send us, any comments, any hate mail, whatever, anything that you want to send, we welcome it all. So we really appreciate, again, everyone listening and tapping in. And like Rich said, we're looking forward to going 1-0 this week.
Absolutely, man. Until then, who dey?